Hello, 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 soul friends, and welcome to this episode of Shine Your Soul Light podcast, where we are sharing the voices of visionaries who are leading in the golden age. My name is Mary Gooden. I will be your host. Truly, my mission is to support others in defining and aligning with their ever-evolving mission and purpose, and to restore the highest frequency of unconditional love. I do so with courage and authenticity as the heart of humanity. I ask that we all just take a moment of stillness and silence, right? To close the eyes and open the heart. May we anchor in love, compassion, and grace. And may we receive wisdom, guidance, and inspiration. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Joining me on this fabulous episode today is a #1 international best-selling author, Shayna Melissa Stockman. She is a 30-year nurse, a nationally board-certified nurse practitioner, and known as the Biohack NP TM. I love that. The world wellness expert. Shayna was left hopeless and helpless by the doctors, yet healed herself holistically without medication. Now her doctors and specialists are her clients. I love this, Shayna Melissa. I love this quote. I would rather be proactive to prevent your disorder today than reactive to treat it tomorrow. Welcome, Shayna Melissa, to this beautiful episode. Share with the audience, if you will, where you're joining us from, and in your own frequency and your own beautiful and loving vibration, your mission and purpose in the world.
Oh, well, first, thank you for having me. I'm so honored, and I love your show. I am currently in Long Island, New York, and it's not that long. It's really not. My mission and purpose has changed, and I think we're forever evolving and transforming. I would like to think my grandma raised me, God rest her soul, and she always loved putting smiles on other people's faces, and I would watch that put a smile on her face. So I'm like, I want to be like grandma and put more smiles on more faces. And then over time, I think it evolved, and my new mission is I want to help and empower, I want to empower millions more that were also left helpless and hopeless, to show them there are ways that they can re-energize, feel better, be happier, often without the prescriptions. And I want to show them that their doctor, a lot of times we think our doctor's our last hope. That's the last stop. And if the doctor doesn't know what to do with you, he sends you to the specialist. And if the specialist, your healthcare provider, can't get you healthy, you think there's no other way out. So I want to show them, like, I was in full-blown heart failure and getting worse and worse and worse. And the specialist didn't know what to do. So I want to show them millions more. I want to empower them that they don't have to just take the specialist's word and still get worse and worse. If their healthcare provider is not getting them healthy, maybe they need to look at healthier other options. And I want to give them hope and motivation and inspiration and help transform them. And also, I have a big mission. I also want to empower a lot of other healthcare providers, because the techniques I'm using, a lot of people, when they say, oh, my doctor, he's experienced. Well, that's great. But a lot of the newer techniques I'm using were not being used just 2 years ago. So if your doctor has 20 years experience and he graduated med school 20 years ago, that's great, but he has no idea how I'm helping clients. So I want to empower millions more healthcare professionals, so that rippling effect could be a massive tidal wave, and that the healthcare professionals can truly create that deeper impact that they were meant to, and help more clients in less time, so that the healthcare pros can get their time back, so they could do what Sir Richard Branson said in a recent meeting, is live life to the full. So I want to show the healthcare pros, look, here's what you can do to help your clients, either instead of the traditional or in conjunction with the traditional, to get even better results, synergistic results, and happier clients. And then the healthcare providers have more time so that they can live life to the full.
I love how you're restoring joy and bliss all across the planet with that, because you're true. When we feel good, we feel good. And when we feel good, everybody around us has permission to feel good. And I think that's so powerful. Shayna,
Yes.
Shayna Melissa, I like to call you,
Thank
just so
you.
everybody knows who this beautiful light is that stands before me. So I imagine that this kind of rolls into the pivotal moment. Would you share a little bit more about your experience of this pivotal time in your life where you were really like, it's go time. It's time to create this lasting change. And I'm going to be the leader. I'm going to be the forerunner. I'm going to be the trailblazer that makes this happen.
Ooh, nice. I have two main pivotal moments. Can I discuss both a little bit?
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, my first one, my grandma raised me, and I'm going to give away my age, the 70s, and she taught me about healthy options back then. And then my grandpa was a pharmacist. And a pivotal moment for me was when she started deteriorating, and I saw this. I decided we're going to live together again. I'm going to take care of her. I literally back then, this is in the early 90s, I carried her into the doctor's office because she couldn't walk anymore. And, the doctors look at like, oh, she's 79. Like, what do you want us to do? And I'm like, no, 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 this is unacceptable. This is not going to happen. So she, now that she's older, she looked up to me. I was a brand new nurse, right? I just got my RN in 93. And she asked me, do you ever think I'll walk again? And I thought about it and I said, well, we have to get to the cause. If we get to the cause, we can solve the problem. We could stop it from getting worse, and we can reverse it and get rid of the symptoms so we don't need the prescriptions, which means we don't have side effects, interactions, dependencies, and overdoses. Wow. What a concept. So I said, all right, no, you will walk again. And because I gave her that belief, then we took massive, consistent action steps, and I would stretch and strengthen her. And she eventually walked again with no cane, no walker at 79. Now, in the 90s, to mind you, I was a brand new nurse. I had no experience yet. I didn't know what I was doing. And there was in the 90s, no one went to physical therapy, right? So I was just making up exercises and stretching and strengthening myself. And I'm like, so that was a moment that made me realize, whoa, we don't have to just take what the doctor tells us and say, okay, that's my fate, that's my outcome. Because that, you could totally change the trajectory. You can't let one person's opinion, because it is an opinion, right? What he had, that she would not walk again. You can't let one person's opinion define your future and your end outcome. So that was a huge pivoting moment. And then my other one, sorry, my other pivoting moment was then I myself was left helpless and hopeless by the doctors. It seemed like what was happening all over again with what the doctors told grandma. They were telling me like, hey, you're in heart failure. That's it. We don't know what to do with you. And I'm like, wait, this is unacceptable. You're the specialist now. I said, I thought about what I did with grandma. I said, I have to get to the cause so I can stop the progression, because it was getting worse and worse and worse. And if I stop the progression, I can often, if I get to the cause, I can reverse it. And if I reverse it, that'll get rid of the symptoms. So I don't need the meds that are making me sicker, that are causing interactions, side effects, dependencies, and overdoses. So that's exactly what I did. The heart doctor at that time told me 95% of my people in heart failure, I never find out why they're there. And I was like, that's unacceptable. You're fired next, And
Right.
yes, I fired my doctor. If your healthcare provider is not getting you healthy or keeping you healthy, you need to look for a second opinion. If your roof leaks, right, and the contractor doesn't do the job correctly, and what he was paid to do, fix that roof, you fire him, right, and you get someone else. So I had to, that pivotal moment was I was in heart failure. I was getting worse. They left me totally helpless and hopeless. And this was doctor after doctor, specialist after specialist. It wasn't just like one bad one. A lot of times the doctors look at simple algorithms, if this, do that. But I treat my clients like humans, like nobody fits into an algorithm, if this, do that, because there's too many other factors. So I was left helpless and hopeless in heart failure, still getting worse and worse. My feet are blue, cold, black, red, exhausted all the time, shortness of breath. And also I was diagnosed with autoimmune problems when this pandemic started. And I'm like, oh, no, no, no. I'm not going on those meds that weaken my immune system during a lethal pandemic, because I saw my patients who were put on those and they got sicker and sicker more often and sicker all the time and kept coming in sick. And then when those autoimmune meds stop working, I know the docs move them on to the prednisone, the steroids, and that porks up their weight, which raises their blood pressure and their sugars. And then they're afraid to, and then they're breaking bones all the time. I was like, no, thank you, not for me. And then I also had trigeminal neuralgia, which is the most excruciating nerve pain you could imagine. I couldn't touch my hair. That's how bad it was. And my symptoms were getting worse. And I felt like, the meds, each med led to a side effect that led to another med. And okay, so the anti-inflammatory is good, gave me an ulcer, right? Then, okay, let's use the steroids. That made my weight go up, my sugars, my blood pressure. Then, I was building tolerances. And the docs, sometimes some of the doctors just want to keep you dependent to come back every month for pain meds or blood pressure pills. How many people go to the doctor and the doctor says, here, take this blood pressure pill. I'll check you again next month, right? Do they usually think about this for those that are listening? When your doctor told you had high blood pressure, take this pill, see you next month. Did he say maybe drop 10 pounds, watch your salt, you might not need the pill? Not usually, right? So I want to get to the root cause to stop the progression, to reverse it, to give people their life back. And I found that now when I do this biohacking and I activate genes and pathways, that's my passion. It's actually helping us, it's helping our body do what it used to and should. Our bodies used to do certain things, and the activating the genes and the pathways is helping that. I went from, hey, heart failure, autoimmune problems, excruciating nerve pain, joint pain, sadness, high blood pressure, high sugars, weight gain, not being able to function, to look at me now. I'm off all the medications. I'm biohacking my genes. I'm my ideal weight. My sugars are good. My blood pressures are good. I have no pain. I could touch my face, my joints. I no longer have any symptoms of any autoimmune problems. I'm functional every day and I'm happier. And I want to show others, millions of others, especially with autoimmune problems or had problems from, this or the long haulers or cancers, that they don't have to just accept the diagnosis. There's alternatives, there's healthy alternatives. You don't necessarily have to go out of the country for a doctor you don't know if he's legit and giving you a treatment that's real. And if it works, it might just last a month or two. I want to show you there's something you could do. I've helped people go from stage 4, where they were told go into hospice and die, into full remission. Like, that doesn't happen often with traditional treatments. I'm sorry, it doesn't.
What a beautiful, this is such a beautiful example, Shayna, Melissa, of using our circumstances to create a ripple effect, and using our paradoxes and our contrasted experiences. And I'm going to go deeper into everything you just shared, but this is a beautiful example of how our traumas and our trials in life are not meant to hold us back. They are there to teach us and so that we can show up and shine and share the gift of what we've learned. And this is beautiful. I love that you're sharing all this, because, it's not a bad deal that you had to go through all that. It really isn't unfortunate. It's a gift, because now you get to help millions. You get to save millions from going through that process. And that's what I'm talking about with shining your soul light. You have completely turned what kills people around, a horrendous medical experience, into a freaking blessing for the world. This is what I'm talking about. Thank you. No, thank you. Because this is
chills.
This is what it's all about.
And it's so important, because a lot of people might use their history as an excuse for why they're still where they are. They might be like, oh, my mom beat me, my dad did drugs, whatever it may be. And everyone they can either use that as a excuse, or they could say, hey, look, this was me, this is not where I want to go. And and I like to, my first book, Overcoming Life Obstacles, I like to say, take your obstacle, turning it into a stepping stone to elevate yourself and then uplift others. And that's what more of us need to do. We need to stop the excuses, because our past does not dictate our future. And so many people are trapped in their minds in their past and saying, hey, this is me, this is my fate. I'm like, no, you know what? And you're a fellow best-selling author as well. There's, only we hold the pen to our future chapters and our life story. No one else holds that pen. They can't write it. It's not been written yet. So what the last chapter is not dictating what the next 2 chapters are going to be.
It's so true. Such a beautiful way to put that into words. Although you can look at your past to dictate your future from the place of inspiration only. Right? From the place of inspiration, like my divorce, like what a gift to spend a part of my life in that that particular experience so that I could share with others that that's not the end all be all, that actually moving through those experiences helps us recognize the truth, that perhaps we're only here to do it for a little bit together, or 25 years, or 5 years, or 3 months, because we activate one another.
Ooh,
Just like
activate.
your
I love that
experiences
word.
activate you. Yeah.
I love
Everything is an activation for us, people, places, and things. And when we can look at life as the journey that it is, they're just activations. They instigate something. If they fan the ember of our
yes.
inner fire, and none of it's
I
bad.
I love your mindset because it's so positive. And girl, we need your mindset to be contagious like this pandemic was. And yes, it's so true. And I love to say activate too. And that's a big word of mine because it's so powerful. And, I like to say, I don't do simple supplementation. I do activation. It's not simple supplementation. It's activations of genes and pathways. And it's so true. Like, other people might be like, oh yes, I'm divorced. And you're like, yes, that helped me. That made me grow. And my grandma used to say, these struggles make us stronger. And I had so much struggles growing up, so many struggles. I used to be like, Grandma, I'm one tough cookie. And if I look at her for inspiration a lot still to this day. She grew up poor, a minority, divorced parents way back in the early 1900s during the prior pandemic, and then survived the Great Depression. And she graduated high school 2 years early, right? She could have had an excuse. Oh, my parents are poor. I'm a minority. It's the depression, whatever. No, she still graduated high school 2 years early. Like
Hmm.
that's a mindset thing. That's like, hey, she'd tell me a story. They would put cardboard in their shoes because there was holes in the bottom and the water would come in. And you know how the miles get longer to school and the snow gets deeper. I miss hearing those stories. Guys, get all those stories you can now. Keep hearing them 100 times.
Oh, you're so right.
And
Those stories.
yeah, and I have a foreshadowing thing. When a nurse impacted my life, and I originally had a scholarship for nursing, but I didn't know how I got it because I hadn't applied. Maybe I checked the box on my SATs or my grades were good. So I didn't know if I wanted to go into nursing at first. And then I was in a bad accident and I was in the hospital and I was like, this nurse likes helping people. I like helping people. Well, I have this scholarship. Maybe this is God telling me something and this is my calling. So, and then I said, whoa, she'll never know how many lives she has impacted. And now when I look back at it, because I've been a nurse now over 30 years, I'm realizing my patients, some of them became nurses. And then some of the nurses I knew, I inspired to become nurse practitioners. And I wanted to have not this rippling effect, but this massive tidal wave. So I figured when I empower more healthcare pros to activate genes and not leave people helpless and hopeless, then that rippling effect will be a massive tidal wave because each healthcare provider can affect hundreds or thousands of lives, in different states, countries, and continents.
You're absolutely right. We all do. We all do. It's our frequency. Would you share with us, Shayna, Melissa, a little bit more about how, you know, bringing your glow, turning your glow up, your shine, how it's affected your relationships in such a way? Because I feel as though, even for me, not going back to my divorce again, but sometimes we allow our relationships to hold us back, right? Because we
Yes.
live in that sphere of letting go
Mhm.
of friendships, of partnerships, of even family ships, right? Because
Mhm.
we're not seeing eye to eye anymore. Do you have any experience with that? I always love to share how people have moved through that,
Right.
if any, in any way.
I think it depends on the individual. There's going to be some people that are jealous and negative, and I don't have time or energy for them anymore. I decide my time is a lot more valuable than my money because I can't get time back.
Right.
And I only want to be around and surround myself with people that make me feel good about myself. Right. And I think others should be the same way. You should, money, you can always get more tomorrow. Time, you can't. Time is of the essence. So I want to choose wisely who I spend time with. And that's a lesson I've learned. And I think when I'm positive all the time, it lights up a room and people like, wait, I want that. I want to be around that. I want that to rub off on me. So I seem to be attracting the more people that want to be happy. And there's going to be those jealous negative people. And you know what? I'll give them, and I just did this on I did a burnt out to blissful challenge that I hosted. And I told them we have to do spring cleaning, even though it's fall. And I now have a 3-strike rule, right? So those negative, toxic, poisonous people, you get 1 warning, 2 warnings, 3 warnings, you're out. And then it's so much easy on social media now, because now we could unfriend, block, unsubscribe to their emails, have them unsubscribe to ours, and it's so much easier. So we all need to do spring cleaning. Give them 1, 2, 3 strikes. Hey, you're out. You can block them. You can take a break for a while, like they do on social media, and then come back and see if things have changed. But I can't change people that aren't willing to change and ready to change. So I just avoid the toxic, negative. If I can inspire and motivate others, I'm an altruistic team player. I'm going to start a new mastermind, empaths helping empaths. So it's only the positive altruistic team players. So we can all give and take and give and take and help each other. So we don't have to just surround people that are going to suck our life and energy out of us and our time and resources. And I think for me, it's changed a lot, because I'm so much happier now that I get to choose who I surround myself with, right? And I think it's really cool, because 30 years ago, when I first became a nurse, the doctors would just look down upon you like a nurse. But now, since my results are phenomenal, I am no longer in heart failure. I no longer have any autoimmune problems that ever show up anywhere. I have no joint pain, nerve pain. My weight's good. My blood pressure, so my doctors were so impressed, and my specialists, and my results, and those of our mutual clients and patients, that my doctors and my specialists are my clients. So that's changed, which is really odd. 30 years ago, that would have never happened, me just being a nurse. And then also, I'm able to treat a lot more people with virtual videos like this. I could do a lot of consults with clients now in other states, countries, and continents. So I find I'm really becoming more global, and I think I'm more known in some other states and countries than where I am right now, which is odd, because I used to be like the town doc, where everybody used to come from another island over to Long Island to come and see me, because they liked me better than the doctors over like on Shelter Island or wherever. So I think it's changed a lot of things, and I hope I inspire and motivate other people. I mean, I don't want to have to push and shove them, but I want to help transform.
Right. What a beautiful word, transform. But it's a small world after all. In fact, when we're building relationships from authenticity and truth and heart, it is a small world. And, I love that you reminded the audience, you reminded us, because I say this all the time. It's so important who you surround yourself with. What are you listening to? What music are you listening to? What words are vibrating between your ears, right? What sounds? It's so important. And I'm not going to go off the deep end, with listen to this megahertz, but it's so important what you're swallowing, what's in front of you, not only your food, but what you're listening to, what you're hearing, what you're seeing. What are you surrounding yourself with? That, to me, Shayna, Melissa, is one of the biggest priorities to shape shifting or transforming, as you would say, because when you notice that you pull yourself away from people that are constantly saying, we'll just use shoulda, coulda, woulda, and you put yourself in a container of people that are talking about infinite possibility, and they're just creating, it's freaking huge.
Yes.
And quickly your frequency will shift. So that's such a great reminder. And that's what it goes into relationships. Like even your mother, even your sister, even your brother, even your partner, what are they saying? What are you surrounding yourself with? What are you hearing? And it's not always that you have to go running away. Perhaps it gives you the cue to be the change maker. You start helping others that you hear talking about this in this way. And not by saying you should, but by just being the example, by mimicking the behavior that you want to bring more of into your life. And you just watch people around you change. It's fabulous.
Yes. And it's mindset. It's like if you're driving a car and you change the steering wheel just a few degrees, that little change will change the whole trajectory of where you end up. And I think I've heard it say, people say that you become the sum of your five. So pick your five that you surround yourself with wisely. Did you ever like get a song in your head and you're like, where did you come from? Because you heard that earlier, right, in the day. So those people don't realize those words, they sink in and they hurt. And mindset is so huge. It could be raining out and I'm like, great, you know what? Now we'll have more flowers tomorrow. And other people might take it as, oh man, it's raining again. I'm like, oh my God, it's so beautiful out. Look at the rainbow, right? Without the rain, we don't have the rainbow. Without the bad days, we can't appreciate the good days. Imagine if every day is just sunny and roses and you eat ice cream every single day, you don't appreciate it. So I think mindset is so huge. Like when I got grandma walking again, I gave her the mindset, the belief. And if you're surrounding yourself with people that are not believing in what you can do, it's going to affect you. Grandma, if I told her, no, you're not going to walk again, you're 79, she wouldn't have walked again. Mindset is huge. Like that's setting your trajectory up for your outcome. If I thought, oh, I'm just going to listen to my doctors, I would have been dead by now. I was in heart failure, full-blown heart failure. I was getting worse and worse and worse. So you have to, if something's not working, you have to see what's not working. And a lot of times it's just the mindset. Once you change the mindset, the doors open to you and the floodgates, and and life's beautiful and roses for the most part. Not all the time, but
Well, you could take that a step further. So thanks for sharing all that. But even taking a step further, like you're saying that we have to have the contrast. Absolutely. But guess what we don't have to do? We don't have to label it as good, bad, or indifferent. We don't have to label our external circumstances as anything. What we get to do is we get to internalize and recognize that each and everything outside of us has value. So we don't have to put a label on it. It simply is valuable. And we can just seek the value in everything that we see. And then there's no good, bad, or indifferent. There simply is the experience that we call the journey of life. So
journey. That's so odd that you say that. This painting behind me, I mean, you're here, your listeners might not see it. This was actually created by Steve Smith, the drummer for Journey. He was their drummer from the 70s up until a couple of years ago.
yeah,
And I
love
actually picked this out. I was speaking at the Nurse Practitioner Convention. I was a national speaker in Vegas while Journey had their residency there. They were staying in Vegas performing. And I got invited to the drummer's gallery debut opening, a small little intimate gallery where Steve performed the drums for us and showed us how he created this artwork. And then I was like, oh, I'll take that piece, that piece, that piece. And this is one of them that was created by Steve Smith.
love that piece. I love that. Every time Shayna gets on, I see that piece and I'm like, oh, how lovely. I know you guys can't see it, but perhaps one day we'll do video, but for now, this allows you to multitask. You can listen and do all the things you want to at the same time, and you don't feel like you have to watch.
And I love Journey because they have that song, Don't Stop Believing. And that's, mindset's huge, You ever hear of somebody that was misdiagnosed cancer, passed away, but they were given the wrong biopsy result, and then it turns out they didn't have cancer, right? Because of their mindset.
Right.
Isn't that wild?
That's such powerful advice. I did want to come back to that advice of paying attention to your mindset and understanding that if there is anything that you can control in this lifetime, it is the way that you set your mind, right? It is really the way that you set your mind up, and it takes practice. Sometimes you have to rewrite a lot of stuff. Like you said, we have the pen. If you don't like what you're hearing in your mind, rewrite it. You have that ability to do that.
Yes.
One last question for you, Shayna, Melissa. One word. Describe with one word how it feels for you to lead in the golden age.
Just one word? Oh my God. One word. Awesomeness.
Oh, awesomeness. Such a bright.
I don't even know if that's a word. Awesome, definitely. But awesomeness, I like better. It's more original.
Yeah, it is. It really, truly is. All of that, just exciting and awesome. Thank you, darling. Thank you for sharing your beautiful energy and shine.
Can I add one more thing? It's, people, a lot of people might have self-sabotage in their head. I can't do this. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not bright enough. And I just taught this the other day in a challenge that I hosted. And I think we need to retrain our brains sometimes, right? Because it might have started with mom or dad saying you're not good enough, you'll never amount to anything. But we can all retrain our brain. It's a little uphill battle, but it's possible and it's doable. And a lot of us had done it. I heard things like that when I was younger from certain relatives, Did I let that stop me? No. So we sometimes need to retrain our brain. And I like to say we need to take our limiting beliefs and transform them into our superpowers. So I was telling people to say, like, if you're like, hey, I don't have enough money to make this happen, then no, you need to turn that into the opposite. I have all the resources right in front of me. I might not have the money, but I can get a loan. Let's see, Walt Disney started Disneyland and Disney World with loans. So, we need to take the limiting belief, turn it into the polar opposite, and then look at all the resources we have around us, And I think it's important to take that limiting belief and do calls to action every day. If you think you're not pretty enough, put a Post-it note on your mirror that you look at every morning saying, I am beautiful, and just retrain the brain. It's just, it can happen and anything is possible. Look, I was in heart failure. Grandma couldn't walk at 79 and she walked again. So awesomeness. It's totally awesomeness. And just surround yourself with the 5 most positive people. I'm not saying don't talk to your negative family. I'm just saying maybe limit their time.
Mm. That's so wonderful. Awesomeness.
Awesomeness.
Awesomeness. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing all this awesomeness and the truth of the matter that infinite possibilities exist for all of us. Anything, absolutely anything is possible.
Yes.
So,
I mean, yes,
mhm,
definitely. Sir Richard Branson sent men and women to outer space. Anything's possible.
anything's possible. Oh,
Thank you.
dear
Thank
friends,
you.
thank you all so much for listening today. As always, until we get to share in this beautiful collective energy, I say keep shining your light, keep trusting yourself, and leaning into the most and the highest frequency of unconditional love, because that's what we came here to do. And when we do that, we live in a state of joy and bliss. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have an amazing day until we meet again soon. Bye for now. I think I stopped my recording and yours is still recording.
I just hit stop.